What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Trying to finish up this thing. So kind of been picking away at a lot of little parts, and one of those things is the Halifax sensor mount. Had to kind of fab one of those up. Now I'm just gonna throw a little steelet on it. Stuff's the bomb. If you aren't aware of this stuff, it's weldable stainless steel in a can, basically. Still a little chilly out here, so hopefully that stuff works. Hopefully it dries, but yeah, just been kind of hashing away at some of the little tiny things on this build. Got to get the electrical done, but in order to get the electrical done, I have to make sure all the sensors are mounted where they're supposed to be before I can run those wires. So the Halifax sensor just sits right here on this wheel, so I kind of had to make a little deal, put a little tab off of the turbo mount. And then one of the other things I've been working on too is the alternator. So I got it mounted down here, kind of tucked down out of the way, a little adjuster on it, and it worked out pretty good. It's not quite aligned. I've got a little spacer in there that needs to be shortened just a smidge, but I like it out of the way where you can't see it. You don't even know it has an alternator on it. The alternator was one of those things that kind of got left to the very end, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do because I was running out of space. I thought about mounting it, having a drive shaft driven alternator, but then if you're sitting in any kind of traffic, then you're kind of screwed. Thought about cable drive, thought about looking into maybe some cable drive setups to do a cable drive alternator setup, but you still have to put a pulley up here. Really the only other option I had was to kind of hang it out here, and I really didn't want to do that. So worked out nice that I could kind of tuck that thing down in underneath the motor. Just a little V-belt setup. Like I said, what's rad is you don't even know it has an alternator, which I like. Also got the regulator mounted finally. Got the water pump plate basically sealed. I got it bolted on now just so the sealant will dry. There's a gasket in there. The only thing I have to worry about is the actual gaskets that go on the pump itself. I'm getting close. I'm getting really close. I got to make some brackets for the amp EFI smart coils. So I've got to mount those. Got to make some brackets to weld to the chassis. But I think that's the last thing I've got to do before I can start wiring it. So let's keep trucking. All right, so that's basically what I came up with. Coil holders. It'll work out better because before, if I was gonna do them as one piece, I'd have to slide these rods out and kind of disassemble them piece by piece
versus now where I can just take these bolts out, take the whole coil pack out, disassemble it on the bench or whatever, put it back together, and then back on the chassis, and then put the bolts back in. It'll make things a lot easier. I didn't know if I had room to slide these rods out too with the headers and all that stuff, so yeah, there you go, 2 coil packs. Now I'm just gonna tack them. I'm kind of put them up under there, tack them to the chassis. I'll take the coil packs loose, fully weld it, and probably clean up these brackets, seal everything, then I can mount them for the final time. Alright, well, she's tacked on. Everything's level. So you can see everything's tight. I mean, well, this entire build's like that, but so I had to make room between the steering shaft and the plug. I've got a bracket in here that basically I had to split where the plugs plug on. So this coil plug goes there, that plug goes there, so I had to split it, which kind of set the depth, and then I just matched it on the other side. And then I had to make sure there was room for the plugs, plug wires come off. I want to try to stay away from the headers as much as I could. I may end up actually making a shield that goes in there. The fact that this thing's all open air shouldn't get terribly hot, but and this side was kind of easy peasy. It's wide open. Same deal here though. May make a shield, kind of blocks that. And then the only other thing was this sensor plug. That was the one thing I was trying to clear on this side. Where is that thing at? So I got it right here. And right now it's in the way because that plug wire won't snap on there. But this big plastic housing is not necessary. You can get these where they're short and the wires just come out. So I'm gonna buy some of those. I actually like those better anyway than this big old thing. And then worst case, if I have to, I can move this over, you know, just 1/4 inch or whatever, just enough to get those plug wire caps to snap on there. So the way it's gonna work is I'm gonna use 90-degree boots here. So they'll come off 90 degrees. All of them will kind of be facing this way. And then they'll just kind of come down, wrap around to whatever plug. And then I just got custom wires so I can kind of cut them to fit perfect. I can have them all tied up however I need them. Let's see here. So for instance, this one will just come around, snap on there 90 degrees like that. And then that one will just be like that. So on and so forth, all the way up to the front. Let's see how much room I got up here. So that's what she's looking like. These smart coils, they have 5 wires to them on each one. So what is that, like 40 wires? The reason is you got like a power wire, you got a ground wire. We got like 3 ground wires. So one ground has to go to the cylinder head, the coil goes to the cylinder head that has the spark plug that the coil is sparking. And so 4 of them will go to this cylinder head, 4 of them will go to the other cylinder head. And then what it does, I think, is it can basically match the ground that the plug has exactly side to side, and it can compensate. That's why they call them smart coils. I mean, they're self-igniting too, but I mean, there's more to it than just that, but that's part of it, is it can change whatever it needs to change per side, per coil, and all that stuff. So you have basically 3 grounds, a power wire, and a trigger wire. So I'll have to get all that stuff wired, which is why these things need to be mounted. One of the things I'm a huge fan of is like having all the wires go down where you don't hardly ever see them. So if you notice, the injectors I have turned around backwards. Typically you'd see the injector plugs on the outside and you'd see a harness run down through here. I didn't like it like that. I never have, as long as there's room to plug them on the inside. I do that, so I turn the injectors around, the plugs will go on the inside, they'll run right down through the intake and out the back, and I'll kind of try to hide as much of this stuff as I can. Same thing with the throttle position sensor. I'll end up changing the plug to a different style plug. Still plug in, but then the harness will go right down through the center of the intake, along with the water temp and the air temp itself too. So everything will be hidden on the outside. I mean, you'll see wires, but they won't be right out here front and center. Same thing with the coils. You know, I angled these for plug wire access, but also so I could shoot the wires down and under and be all hid. So, and then with the alternator down there, same difference. I'll tie the wires in, I'll kind of loom them. They'll run down the chassis and you won't ever see them. I think I did the goose the same way. Yeah. So you can see a lot more of the harness on the goose, but you can see that the fuel injectors are turned around where the harness is on the inside. And you can see the harness on this one, but you know, from back here you don't. It's not covering up that fuel rail and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the plan. Now I just need to, now that everything's mounted, I'll pull those coil packs off. I'll get everything welded pretty solid, so I know where it's, where it's all gonna be. I'll kind of clean up some of that stuff, seal all that bare metal with some shark hide, and then we'll start wiring this thing. I've already kind of started. I've got part of an injector harness started. So I've already got all the power wire on the injector harness. So the injectors are triggered by ground. The ground's what actually triggers it, so it's constant power. And you just run basically that constant power to the fuel pump relay, which I'll probably run 2 separate relays, but they'll both be activated at the same time. Main reason for that is I'm gonna have the fuel pump relay in the back, and I'm gonna have the injector relay up front. And then I can have them fused separate too, so. Yep, there's that. It's been slow, man, but got a lot of little tiny things I need to finish up. I probably spent way more time on these little brackets than I needed to with the dimple dies and all that stuff. But I mean, those little dimple dies, they add a little bit of character to it, probably a little bit of strength, which is not necessarily needed with just those. But yeah, from the outside, they just don't look so plain. Kind of the story of this build, everything takes a little bit longer than it probably should, which is why it's still not done. Soon, very, very soon, hopefully. Speaking of wiring, I got a question for you guys. So, as you know, I installed a new compressor in here, and this compressor is 240 volt. It has its own circuit that nothing else uses. It's just a compressor circuit that goes back to the panel. But what I've found is that when the compressor kicks on, it clicks off one of my 120 circuits. It flips the breaker on one of my 120 circuits. Show you what I'm talking about. So this is my panel, and this is the air compressor circuit here. It's a 30 amp 240, And for whatever reason, when the compressor kicks on, it kicks this 120 outlet circuit off. Whoops, I just did it. So I don't know if maybe that thing is like super sensitive and I could just replace this thing and it would fix it. This is like a GFI setup, so it's got the ground fault built into it, so maybe it has something to do with that. I don't know. If there's any electricians out there, you got an idea of what you think it might be, let me know so I can fix it. It's kind of aggravating. Compressor kicks on, it kicks off my Wi-Fi. I ain't got no more Alexa, can't listen to radio. I have to go like click it back on, and so on and so forth. So just let me know if there's, you know, whatever. It might just be that breaker is touchy. I don't know what the hell the problem is. I need to talk to the guy that wired this place. Maybe he'll fix it, but you know, there's power in people, lots of people. If you got any suggestions, let me know. Anyway, that's it for this video. Man, this thing feels like it's getting close, but so far away. Anyway, as always, thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys some more, hopefully soon. Go do work, son.